What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday. It is April 11th today. We are going to be taking a look into the Bitcoin charts. Bitcoin having a pump right now, about 3% pump, about 82,000. Stock market down slightly, about 0.2%. About I've seen it fluctuate today, so quite a bit of positive price action today. We're going to be taking a look if the Bitcoin bulls are finally ready to actually start this bull run again. Let's see some price predictions here, okay, based on the patterns I'm seeing on the charts, as well as some technical analysis. If you guys have been to my channel before, you guys know that I'm purely about technical analysis and what's going on in the charts. And if that sounds like it's something that you guys are interested in on the daily basis, make sure you guys are liked and subscribed because I will be doing these technical analysis on a daily basis and you guys don't want to miss out. Of course, none of this is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. It's purely my speculations and opinions. You guys gotta do your own research before you guys trade on your own and don't follow anyone blindly on the internet. Now let's take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin. Okay, let's come up here to the weekly time frame, which is still very important. Very important because we are still on the weekly 50 SMA. I've been talking about the support for quite some time. 77,000 range. First time we touched down on the support for since I think back in September. That was before the breakout of this very long bull flag. Okay, that consolidation we've been having 2024. It was an interesting time. Okay, but we have broken out of that, and that was the last time. That was the support we actually touched before we actually broke out of that. So I would still expect this to be pretty strong support. Very important to keep an eye out on the weekly candle close there. Definitely want to see the support hold. Otherwise, you could expect more downside. Okay. Now let's come down here to the 3-day time frame. This is very important because I actually talked about this double bottom here, and now it's actually playing out. Double bottom, usually reversal patterns, and we got a pretty good bounce there. Okay. However, we do need to actually break out of this double bottom on the 3-day time frame. Okay. So some key levels I am looking at here for as resistance for breaking out of this double bottom. Okay, quite a bit of resistance here. We have the 3-day 21 SMA, which is basically running along with this top trend line here. Okay, of a developing falling wedge pattern. It's not fully developed, but I'm just getting an estimate of where the top range and the bottom range could be. Okay, because we're still missing that second swing to the bottom here, in my opinion. So you get the 3-day 21 SMA right above the top trend line. We have the daily 21 SMA, daily 50 SMA, daily 200 SMA, basically all above the price action and pretty close to that top trend line there. So got to be paying attention to that top trend line as well as those moving averages, okay, serving as resistance, okay, because that's, I would expect some turbulence when price action gets up to those moving averages, okay? Now, yeah, we did have a death cross, but it's a lagging indicator. I definitely see death crosses, not really meaning so much. I guess I could point out an example right here where the gray line touches the orange line back in August 2024. I mean, that was that was a death cross, but then not long after price action actually broke out. I mean, yeah, it did take 2 months, but but price action basically consolidated underneath that death cross. So I'm not sure if it's gonna mean too much, right? Now let's take a look into the smaller time frames, okay? So let's quite a bit of price action resistance at about 87,000. All right, anywhere from about 83 to 87,000. That is basically between the price action now and the neckline of that double bottom pattern, very clearly on the 3-day time frame. Smaller time frames here, we're trying to work our way back up above some of these shorter time frame moving averages. Now let's take a look into a price target here, okay, for this very small double bottom pattern, which is pretty visible on the 4-hour time frame, 6-hour time frame, 12-hour, okay, which was the neckline of this smaller double bottom is about 81,000. If you want to take a target out of that breakout, which we actually broke out of it, right? The target would be about 87.5, okay, which is basically you take the neckline, the range of the neckline down to the bottom, and then you put it back on top of the neckline, and that will give you an estimate of a price target out of the breakout of this double bottom pattern, the smaller double bottom pattern. Okay, but really, I'm paying attention to this bigger double bottom pattern here on the 3-day time frame. Okay, if we are actually able to break out of this, okay, we're gonna take a price target here. Now, price targets are only estimates. Okay, there could be price action that comes in after the breakout and actually breach that target. I see that, it's not uncommon. So the price target, if we actually break out of this bigger double bottom, will be about 104,000. Okay, so you guys can actually learn how to estimate price target yourself. Just Google it, right? Google price target double bottom. Just learn how to actually make these targets yourself, and you'll see what I mean. Okay. So that'll be the next level, 104,000. Of course, that was the previous top, very close to the previous top. And until we actually get back and actually break the previous top at about 110,000 almost, we're still consolidating. Okay, and until then, we're gonna see what kind of patterns the price action is gonna give us. Now, we also got to consider the downside of as well, because we can't just be looking at the upside, right? So if the price action actually breaks down from this double bottom, which is still possible, right? A 3-day candle close beneath 78,000 ish, that is not going to be looking as good. Okay, that's not going to be looking good at the moment, right? That could potentially take you back down to about the low 70s. Okay, 71.5, just along this bottom trend line here, where I estimate a possible downside scenario, which is pretty close to that previous resistance back in 2024, which makes sense. Okay, that would be the next level of support, about that 70,000 range, low 70,000 range. That is the downside of this scenario. Okay, I'll be keeping you guys updated on what happens and what I think could happen. Okay, let's take a look into the stock market. S&P 500 mini futures, ES1 exclamation mark is the symbol. I think this is still a pretty nice setup. Okay, that is just my opinion, not financial advice, because the price action has actually retested this breakout point. This is the weekly time frame, ES1 exclamation mark S&P 500 futures. 4,800. That's where the price action actually came down to touch earlier this week. That was basically the breakout point, and we're basically retesting that support. Okay, so because the S&P 500 is very highly correlated with Bitcoin, right? If this is actually the bottom for ES1, then that could be a pretty nice setup for Bitcoin. Of course, if this support doesn't hold, then the next level of support that I'm looking for in the stock market for the S&P is going to be the weekly 200 SMA, which is currently at about 4,700. Okay. Now, let's take a look on the daily time frame for ES1 as well. So we had that bounce, pretty similar chart with Bitcoin. Okay, as long as we're holding about as long as we still get candle closes, daily candle closes above the 5100 area, as you guys can see, which has been kind of the support and resistance for this drop here. Okay. As long as we're still getting daily candle closes above 5100, I would still say this rebound is still looking pretty good. Okay. So that is basically what I'm looking at for this market right now. Of course, if things change on the charts, I will bring you guys an update, and that could potentially change my opinions. But this is what the chart is giving me right now, and this is my opinion right now. So if you guys like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, ask me any questions. I'll be sure to answer. And I'll see you guys next time.